What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Star Wars Battlefront 2 video. Now, it has been a while since I've done a ranking video on this channel. Me and Cookie, back when the game launched, started the whole ranking trend. We did the top 10s, we did top 10 heroes and villains and maps, and then everybody saw that it was getting massive amounts of views, and then all these other Battlefront channels sort of just copied the trend. So I figured I'd go back to my roots here and do a ranking video for the new reinforcements since they are out now. Figured I'd give you guys my opinion on which ones are the best out of all of these. Now, some of these reinforcements in this game are just not good. I think DICE should probably do some rebalancing with some of these, but for the most part, a lot of them play pretty similar to each other. Now, I have over 3,000 hours put into this game across PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. So I definitely have my fair share of experience with these reinforcements by this point. So if you guys enjoy this sort of thing and you want to see more videos like this in the future, be sure to give this a thumbs up. It lets me know that you guys like this, and then if you guys do, then I'll consider making a hero ranking video when the new heroes BB-8 and BB-9E come out in January. But without further ado, let's just get right into it. To start off this list, at the very bottom at number 17, we have the Empire's Jump Trooper. Now, there are a few different jump troopers and even a jet trooper now that have been added to the game. There's a number of different variations of jump trooper depending on which era you are in and which side of the battle you're on. They all have their unique blasters and stuff, and they all feel different from one another. And this one just doesn't cut it. The Empire's version just plain out sucks. It's bad. I think it would do a lot better if they replaced its primary blaster with like just the default E11. I think that would be fine. I think it would be a lot more fun that way, and everybody loves the E11. I mean, it's an iconic blaster. Right now it just has the big, goofy, heavy blaster that just is inaccurate. It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't do that much damage. It's not accurate at a distance, and it's ugly. It's just not fun to play with. And in terms of damage, it's just not that good. So it's at the very bottom of the list. Hopefully they consider reworking this in the future. Maybe if they do a Capital Supremacy update for the original trilogy, maybe they'll tweak things a bit if they ever add new reinforcements. We'll have to wait and see. But then up next at number 16, we have the First Order Flame Trooper. Now, they used to be really good at launch. They were one of the few reinforcements that there actually was. So they were just really powerful. Like when you caught someone on fire, there was a burning effect, so if you hit somebody, they would still burn for like a couple seconds afterwards, and it was really strong because it would stack, and it made the Flame Trooper actually really scary because if you got up close to it, it did a lot of damage like a flamethrower would. But unfortunately, they nerfed it, so now it just does a base damage. Like if you're up close, it does a decent amount of damage. It still doesn't do as much damage as what I think it should because you have to be so up close. Like you basically have to be shotgun distance to use this thing. And as of right now, like, it's better just to use a shotgun from the assault class than it is to use the flamethrower. Now, maybe this thing's time will come in Capital Supremacy when you're in like tight hallways and stuff, because you can hit multiple people at the same time. Like when you're in the castle of Takodana, the Flame Trooper really shines. So there's potential that this Flame Trooper could go up a few spots if it's really good in Capital Supremacy, but it just doesn't do enough damage anymore up close. I think they should probably buff it or revert it back to the way that it was, because if you have to be that close to use it, I think it should do more damage. And then coming in at number 15, we have the Droids Jump Trooper. Now, this Jump Trooper just doesn't feel right. I think there was an update months ago, and it feels like the dash on the Jump Trooper is broken. It just feels clunky, like you don't go as far as you normally would compared to like other Jump Troopers. Maybe it's just me, but every time I use the Droid's B2 RP rocket droid, it just feels like something's off, like something's broken. It does decent damage at a distance, and it does have the wrist rocket, but the wrist rocket is a bit underpowered. So the B2 RP rocket droid just isn't very good. I think they need to fix its dodge, and then hopefully they do a complete rework of all the aerial units, because I just don't think it's very good. And then coming in at 14, we have the Rebels Jump Trooper. A lot of these Jump Troopers just aren't very good, honestly. Now with the Rebel Jump Trooper and the Resistance Jump Trooper, they're kind of similar. And with these troopers, you kind of have to treat them like just mobile assault classes because they have the same weapon as one of the assault class variants. So you do have some pretty decent range with these jump troopers. These blasters do more base damage than the assault class blaster, and they're just really powerful. But I don't think that the Rebels jump trooper is as good as the Resistance jump trooper, but it is fairly decent though. I mean, it's still pretty good. These things really shine in smaller game modes like Blast or Strike or something, for example. These things often get overlooked in game modes like Galactic Assault or something, but in those smaller game modes, these guys really kick butt. And then coming in at 13, we have the Droidakka. So the Droidakka was a huge fan favorite. They've been requested for forever, and when it comes to playing as the Droidakka, they're very, very fun. It's so fun to just zip across the map 90 miles an hour. You zoom past everybody. They're very good at playing the objective, but you have to be up close. Like, if it wasn't for the speed of the Droidakka, they'd be a lot lower. They'd be closer to the Flame Trooper, because you basically have to be at Flame Trooper range for these things to be effective. I think the Droidakka desperately needs a buff, at least a range buff. Make them cost 2,000 battle points instead of 1,000, and then make them do more damage. Because the Droidakkas in this game aren't that scary. In the movies, they felt like they were a threat. You see Jedi run away from Droidakkas. In this game, lightsaber heroes just run up right into the Droidakka's face, slash it down, and that's it. There's no fear from a Droidakka. You can take their shields down pretty easily. Now, you can pull off some pretty cool moves. If you use your overload technique and you flank like 4 or 5 people when you're really up close, you can kill them pretty quickly. But the range is so limited with the Droidakka that they're just not that good. So that's why they're placed so low on this list. And then coming in at number 12, we have the Resistance Jump Trooper. The Resistance Jump Trooper is one of the better jump troopers. Their blaster has a higher rate of fire, and it does a lot of damage. I've gone on really high kill streaks with the Resistance Jump Trooper. In game modes like Blast, I've had 50 and 60 kill streaks. In Galactic Assault, I've gone the entire match as the Jump Trooper, and I've made it clear to the end. I've had like 60, 70 kill streaks in Galactic Assault. These things are way underrated. I don't see people giving these guys enough credit. These guys are really, really good. So if you haven't really given these a chance, I highly recommend them, and I think they're one of the better of the Jump Troopers. And then coming in at number 11, we have the ARC Trooper for the clones. Now, these guys used to be really, really good. They had to nerf them, and then they over-nerfed them, so then they had to buff them a little bit. And I know a lot of people will probably want these guys to be higher in my list, but they just haven't been the same for me since they nerfed them. They can be okay. You have to rapid fire with both triggers, and their weapon overheats fairly quickly. And then they have their shock trap, their helmet scanner, and their power blast. Their power blast has a slight homing ability to it, kind of like Han's lucky shot in Battlefront 2015, but it doesn't do that much damage. You often have to hit somebody twice just for basic infantry for it to kill them. The helmet scanner ability is pretty good, but you have to get kills while it's active to get any health back. And then the shock trap is just okay. And them being at this spot on the list isn't saying that they're a bad reinforcement. I just don't like them as much as some of these other options that are coming up ahead of it. And then coming in at number 10, we have the Wookie Warrior. Now, the Wookie Warrior has seen quite a number of changes over the past 2 years. They were extremely overpowered when they came out. They would just wreck everything. They would melt through heroes. They had tons of explosive damage. Like, the Wookie Warrior was one of the worst things in the game at launch. They were bad. So the Wookie Warrior has received a bunch of nerfs, and they've removed some of the star cards to make up for some of the newer reinforcements. So you no longer have the expanded explosion radius for the imploder, which kind of sucks. You could really amp up the radius before, and now you kind of can't. So the Wookiee's grenade just isn't that good for me anymore. Like, I'll use the Wookiee's imploder and I'll throw it into a crowded room and it will maybe hit 1-2 people. I very rarely get kills with his imploder. Maybe it's just me. And then his overload ability, it doesn't have very good range, but he's really good up close. Like, out of all the reinforcements, I feel that the Wookiee is probably the best when it comes to like taking out heroes. When Saber heroes just rush you and try to get in your face, I feel that the Wookiee probably has the best chance of killing the Saber hero before they kill you. I think the Wookiee's overload ability does more damage than what the Flame Trooper does. So the Wookiee's really, really good up close still, and that's why I put them this high up on the list. And then coming in at number 9 is the new Resistance Spy. I think they're a great addition to the game. They have their rapid fire ability, which is really good. It will just melt through people. It'll melt heroes. Like, if you can hit all your shots with rapid fire, it will kill almost any target. His cannon beacon acts as an orbital strike when you're outside, which I think is pretty cool. And then his truncheon attack. His melee attack isn't the greatest. It's more of like a last resort kind of ability. I wouldn't go running into the battle just to use your melee attack. It's not that good. But overall, I feel that he's a good addition to the game, and he's fun to play with. I think he's pretty good. I just don't think he's as good as some of these other ones. And then coming in at number 8, we have the Sith Trooper. The Sith Trooper is the newest infiltrator. They have their Oppression Grenade, which stops people from healing. They have Seeker Tactics, which lets them see enemies through walls. And then they have their Combat Rush, which lets them run faster and heal themselves upon getting kills. I mean, the Sith Trooper's pretty good. They're really fast. I really like their abilities. They're fun to use, but they don't feel like that much of a threat. Like, when I see a Sith Trooper, I feel like I can normally win when it comes to a 1v1 situation compared to some of these other reinforcements. I don't really fear Sith Troopers. They're fun to play and they're good to play with, but if you're not careful, you can die pretty quickly as a Sith Trooper. So that's why I'm putting them where they're at on this list. And then coming in at number 7, we have the Clone Jet Trooper. The Clone Jet Trooper is very, very powerful. Their pistol does a crap ton of damage. It probably needs a slight nerf. It's been like that for a while. It can melt through heroes. It does a lot of damage to vehicles. It just really packs a punch with that blaster. Now, you could argue that the Clone Jump Trooper could be maybe a little higher. I personally just don't like to use the Clone Jump Trooper as much as some of these other ones ahead of it. But they're really, really good, and they might deserve just a slight nerf to their max damage. And then coming in at number 6, we have the BX Droid. The BX Droid has their Vibro Sword, which is definitely way better than the Spy's truncheon attack. It just feels so smooth, and then on the third hit, it knocks an opponent over, so it's a good way of preventing a hero from attacking you. It's a good way to cancel a hero from doing their abilities. And then they have their thermal vision and their smoke screen, so you can combine those two. You can throw down a smoke and then use your thermal vision to see the enemies through the smoke. They're really fast, they're good at dodging, and they have a pretty strong base damage too. So odds are, if one of them knocks you over, if they hit you 3 times with their sword, you fall on your back, and they can make contact with all of their shots, you're either going to die or come very, very close to death. Like, these things are scary, and if they can hit you with multiple combos, they can hit you 3 times, dodge you for a couple attacks, and then hit you 3 more times, you're probably dead. And then up next at number 5, we have the Death Troopers. I think the Death Troopers are really, really good. They can give themselves a health buff. They have their Sonic Imploder, which does a decent amount of damage, and it blinds enemies, and it reveals all the targets. So you can see all your opponents through the walls, they're blind, and they just took damage. They come equipped with a DLT-19 that the Heavy class has as their default for the Empire. They have an Overload ability, which just is insane. It is super accurate, it has a high rate of fire, and it does a lot of damage. So the Death Troopers are no pushovers. I'm kind of upset that they don't have the same blasters that they do in Rogue One. I don't know why they decided to go with the DLT-19, but they're very fun to use. Always love picking a Death Trooper. I never feel like I'm at a disadvantage when I have a Death Trooper, and I always feel like a mini hero when I choose them. And then coming in at number 4, we have the new First Order Jet Trooper. These Jet Troopers are a lot of fun, and the reason I'm putting them so high on this list over all the other Jump Troopers is because, I mean, they completely redesigned the First Order Jump Trooper and made them have a jetpack now. The First Order Jump Trooper before, I would have said, was probably one of the worst. I probably would have ranked them at like 16 or 14 on this list. They just were not good at all. The rate of fire was horrible, and I just hated to play as them. They weren't fun. But this redesign makes them so much fun. Their primary blaster does explosive damage. You can switch to your grenade launcher. They're very, very quick. They can hover in mid-air, so you can flank people with ease. It takes people quite a while to realize that they're getting shot from straight up above them, so you can get easy kills. If you're smart with the First Order Jet Trooper, you can get really high kill streaks. I think they're a blast. And then coming in at number 3, we have the new Resistance Gunner. The gunner is very, very strong. They have their shoulder charge, they have their explosive ion shot, and then they have their middle ability, which basically lets you fire unlimited ammo and it starts healing you immediately. Honestly, I think these guys could use a slight nerf. They are a bit powerful. Sometimes they feel like a bit too much. I've had quite a few of my heroes get killed by these gunners because I'll be shooting them and it just feels like it takes an entire clip from my blaster or whatever ability I'm using. They just seem unaffected. It feels like when the commandos were released, they were really OP. That's kind of how the gunner feels. The gunners with their ion ability can take out ATSTs in like 4 hits, depending on where they hit the ATST. It might even be 3, like depending on the ATST star cards and if they hit them in the back. They are beasts at taking out vehicles. These things are scary. Don't underestimate the gunner. And then at number 2, we have the Super Battle Droid. Now, the Super Battle Droid is very underrated. I don't see people give the Super Battle Droid nearly as much credit as what it deserves. They were at the top of my list before in the last reinforcement ranking video I did. They're just so good. Their damage drop-off is insane. Like, you could shoot people from across the map and it still feels like they're right up in your face. Like, you can basically snipe people with the amount of damage that these things do. Now, they are slow. Their dodge ability is slow and clunky. Like, if someone gets up in your face, you don't have much of a chance, but you do have wrist rockets and you have your overload. And if you catch a hero off guard, or if you catch somebody that likes to spam their hero swings, like a Luke or an Anakin, and they're just spam swinging, and you hit them with overload and you get nothing but headshots, you will melt that hero. So these things are hero killers, and I've gotten like 60 to 70 kill streaks with these things. These guys are dangerous, and I think they're well deserving of the top 2 spot. And then the only reason I did not give them the top spot is because I feel that the Clone Commando is now deserving of that spot. Now, the Clone Commando did get a nerf, but once you learn how to actually use the Commando, they're really good. They have that siphon ability, where if you activate it, the more damage you do, it heals you. So you can basically take people on in a 1v1 and just heal yourself as they're taking damage. They have their grenades, which are amazing. They're great at taking out vehicles. They're also great at doing splash damage against infantry. I love to just sit in hallways and just lob grenades down hallways, like on Naboo or in Camino or just any map. The grenades are great. Now, their pulse ability kind of sucks. It could use a little bit of tweaking, because I couldn't tell you how many times I've used it and it either just didn't work or the range on it is so tiny that you just miss because the cone's so small. And by the time you push the button and when the Clone Commando actually decides to activate it, the timing's kind of weird. But other than that, I feel that the Clone Commando is a really solid reinforcement, and they are up there with some of my favorites to play. But that is going to do it for my list, guys. That is all of the reinforcements. Now, like I said, you could argue that some of these could be flip-flopped or whatever. And just because I put one of these in a lower spot than another doesn't necessarily mean that it's miles better than some of these other reinforcements. I think a lot of these are really good, and a lot of them are very similar to one another. The only major differences is like the Flame Trooper versus the Commando, for example. Like, the Commando is way better than the Flame Trooper, and the Super Battle Droid is way better than the Empire's Jump Trooper, for example. But I feel that a lot of these are very similar in their play styles. This is just my personal preference based off of all the hours I've put into the game. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Do you guys agree with this list? What would you guys put in your order? If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me out. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Be sure to check out another video, and I will talk to you guys next time.
Will you join me? Accept your fate. I grew impatient.